I'm Sprinkle Theory, and you are here watching Games Done Quick's Juneteenth event, day 2. And we've had some amazing runs. Oh my goodness, it's been such a good time. We've been jamming this morning. Like, the music and the games have been such, just a vibe. But, you know, I do want to remind you that your subs, your Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel do help Games Done Quick HotFix. If you're watching any speedruns, consider subscribing to the channel. It helps with events like this. So now we are going to have yet another banger. Next up is Afterimage, the Essential Restricted category by kurushiidrive. Take it away.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm kurushiidrive, and I'll be running today Afterimage, which is a wonderful 2D Metroidvania developed by Oregon Shanghai, which is a Chinese indie studio, and it was published by Modus Games, who's now known as Maximum Entertainment. This game has a lot in common with Castlevania, especially Symphony of the Night, from which it draws most of its inspiration. There's also slightly some inspiration from Hollow Knight. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. And yeah, I'm really excited to showcase this run for a category I've put a lot of work into, known as the Essential category. And for this run, we'll be doing the restricted rule set, which, to summarize, it's basically no major glitches. It'll be hard to describe everything that entails in restricted, but for now, just understand that we won't be utilizing any major glitches that are known at this point. But that being said, I'll be not doing this run alone. I'll be joined by my good friend Robbo, who's another member of the Afterimage speedrunning community, and he'll be helping me out for commentary today. Say hi, Robbo.
Hey everyone, yeah, I'm Robbo, and I'll be helping out with commentary today. Also really excited to be finally having Afterimage showcase at GDQ.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I'm really excited for this. This run is very fast-paced. The game itself is beautiful to play, but the run itself is going to go wicked fast, even though we've got an hour 10 estimate for it. Timing will start upon selecting the difficulty in this save file. We're going to be playing on the advanced difficulty today. Just to precursor things, advanced was the original difficulty that the game released in before there was a difficulty split added in the December 2023 update of the game, in which normal difficulty was also added, and that's basically like an easy mode. Advanced is what most of the runners are used to, so that's what we play on typically. But yeah, timing will start upon selecting this difficulty here, so I'll count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
Good luck.
So a lot of things are going to happen at the start. This is kind of like a prologue or tutorial section of the run. Doesn't last for very long, but I'll let Robbo describe what we're trying to accomplish here, because we're already going to be doing a lot of things out of our way.
Yeah, so this is the tutorial section. Right off the bat, you can see that we have a dash, and we'll be using this as often as we can to traverse this area as quickly as possible. You'll see that we pick up these blue crystals, and these are dues, and these are our in-game currency. We'll be buying some consumable items later on, which allow us to fast travel around. We'll be buying 6 of them. We also need dues to upgrade our weapons, and we'll be doing that a few times during the run as well. We are approaching the first boss of the run, Lush Wolf.
Yeah, the Lush Wolf fight is going to be very quick. We're going to employ a very cool technique known as crouch canceling to rapidly combo it and attack it with the one-handed sword we start out with. Robbo will talk more about crouch canceling. It's a bit kind of hard to describe, but in the second phase, we take an intentional death because it's scripted. We stand at a certain spacing to allow for it to instantly kill us, otherwise it wastes a few seconds if it does other attack patterns. Then we get to learn that we have the ability to revive at these trees known as confluences, and that sets up the rest of the story for the game.
You can see that we're also picking up a few health potions. So in addition to heals that regenerate at checkpoints at the confluences, there's also consumable heals, and we will be essentially trying to stock them up mainly for some of the harder fights by the end of the game. what will happen is, for the most part, we'll be getting one shot by enemies because we'll be severely underleveled. But these potions will allow us to survive some of the harder late game encounters.
Yeah, exactly. You'll notice I just picked up a new weapon. This weapon is the wooden scythe. It's a slight upgrade to the sword that we start out with, which is known as Stars. We'll be using it for most of the boss fights that are upcoming. Well, really it's just one, but it feels like a lot because that one fight does take quite a while. But from here, we're going to be going up to the next area of the game. This first area is known as Rubywood Desert. And the next area we're coming up on is called Rainbow Plains. We're not going to be in it for very long. We're just kind of just waltzing through it in order to get to the next section of the run. You'll notice that all of the areas are kind of scrambled in letters, what they're actually called. Those letters are just glyphs to kind of obscure the name of the area until you collect the respective echo or speak to an NPC that allows you to know the name of the area. The reason for this is the character is an amnesiac. She's still trying to understand more about herself so that she can recollect her memories. And that really sets up the bulk of what the category The Essential is all about, but we'll talk more about that a bit later in the run since we're not quite ready for what The Essential entails yet. But just trust me that we'll get back to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of story points that we are essentially running past, and we're not really interacting with many of the NPCs, as is the nature of speedruns, of course. You might have already seen some crouch cancel tech using the scythe. He used it to kill one of the chickens earlier on. That will be a core part of the speedrun. The scythe is a very heavy weapon and a very slow fire rate weapon essentially, but it does a lot of damage per hit. But using crouch cancels, you'll see it a lot during this boss fight coming up. We can abuse crouch cancels to get a lot of DPS out of what's normally a very slow weapon.
Yep, this boss is 3 question marks. She's a very important character in the story, but we can't quite know her identity just yet. So, but that being said, this fight is pretty difficult, but we have a lot of ways of making it fast, and I'm going to try to hit a very difficult, okay, I missed it already. So, ideally we want to be able to combo her while she's in the reel back state using the crouch cancels, but it's a little finicky. So the alternative is to damage tank the pillar's attacks so that you can keep your DPS up, and then finish her off with crouch cancels during the other attacks. And overall, that wasn't that bad of a fight considering we missed the manipulation to combo her during the reel back state. But yeah, that fight can get pretty awkward in most circumstances.
Yeah, that fight is actually one of the longer fights in the run because we end up getting to a point where bosses' health bars melt quite quickly. That one, it's early in the run, so it's a common reset point, especially if we don't get the full sort of manip to get us stuck in the corner. But yeah, what we're doing now is we're buying the teleport potions from the vendor here, and we'll be moving on to the next section, which is Resting Path.
Yeah, the area we were previously in was called Resting Town. That's like the hub town. Anytime you play a Metroidvania, you see the hub town typically early on in the game. That's the respective hub town for this game. We're gonna go here quickly to grab another resting potion. This is the teleport potion that Robbo just mentioned. Anytime there's a resting potion just randomly set somewhere in the world, it's a good idea to grab it because although it can be a little bit of a detour and a time cost, typically it helps you manage the routing for the run a little bit better because it allows you to get a few additional like extra fast travel for the run, which ordinarily you'd have to collect more dues otherwise. In Resting Path, the main goal here is to collect one of the first major progression abilities. We actually already gathered the progression ability, but this one I would say is the first major one. It's going to be Slide. I'll let Robbo talk about what Slide does for us.
So we need Slide to progress to the next area, but in terms of how we use it in a speedrunning sense, you'll see, but we combine the dash with the slide to zoom around the map really fast. It pretty much doubles our speed. It is quite a difficult technique. You need to have a particular rhythm with it to get it to work, otherwise you just it messes up and you just end up sliding everywhere, which isn't very fast. But the fight that guards the slide ability is coming up. It's not a boss fight per se, it's more like a mini boss. We've got to kill 2 sort of wanderer knights. The first one, you don't need to kill the first one all that fast because the second one only spawns after a certain amount of time. But as long as we kill the first one before the second one spawns, then the fight should be perfectly fine. It is worth noting that as we're progressing through these areas, we're not really leveling up very much, and we're also not picking up any armor. It'll become apparent very quickly that we will be massively underleveled for essentially all of the run, and undergeared for most of it. And avoiding enemies to avoid getting 1 or 2 shot will be a central part to the speedrun itself.
Yeah, absolutely. We took a lot of damage already, actually. It's not ideal, but we have a lot of safety measures employed as well, so everything's okay. Said gauntlet fight is coming up, after which we'll get the slide ability. But first, let's do some talent point menuing. This will increase our main weapon attack to help us clear the fight a bit faster. And we're also going to be making use of a new weapon that I gathered in this area called the bronze scythe. It just does a little bit more damage than the regular scythe, or the wooden scythe rather. So it's worth using that for this one. Anytime you find a new weapon upgrade in the area that you're going to use to kill the enemies, usually that weapon is better suited for that area than whatever you had in the previous area. So overall, not a bad fight. We grabbed the slide that dropped from the last guy that we killed, and on we go.
Nice.
Yep, good fight, and I will let the gameplay speak for itself. Here we are zooming around the map.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Way faster than before.
Yeah, the movement is it's now starting to really unravel, but like you guys just you wait. Like it's gonna get even cooler pretty soon here.
I mean, we should have known since they give you dash in the beginning. Like we should have known the movement was gonna be great. Like
yes.
My goodness, I love sliding in games and dashing, so this is cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. This game draws quite well from the Castlevania inspiration. This is not even like the coolest thing, I would say, but we're getting there. So, Field of Geo is what we're now in. This is the most cycle-based area in the run so far. A lot of time save in this area is based on how quickly you can navigate these tight enemy sections and platforms to save the most time. And if you mess up, you guys will see right here, the enemies do quite a bit of your health. So we have to take intelligent damage boosts to make things faster while keeping track of our health pool as well. So far, so good.
Yeah, a lot of these enemies are very awkward to avoid, especially the cats throwing bombs on those inclines. We gotta really make sure that we're waiting for the right cycle. Otherwise, we'll end up in a bit of a problem. But that's one of the hardest sections done in Field of Geo. We hit the confluence there for safety, and we are moving up towards our next weapon upgrade.
Yeah, I'm going to take a safety glyph there. That hit was not planned, so just want to keep my health in check. We're going to do a long jump here, which involves making use of some deft air actions to grab another weapon upgrade, which we'll be using for the next boss in the next area. And this boss is going to give us the coolest movement ability in the game, in my opinion, at least. You guys will see. If you're a double jump fan, you'll love this progression ability.
Great.
Double jumps in video games are awesome. Yeah. But yeah.
So the weapon we just picked up is actually not a scythe. We will be picking up a lot of scythes. This one actually isn't a scythe. The sort of attack animation, especially the jumping attack animation, is very, very helpful for the next boss coming up. The katana actually has a lot of cool skills, but we'll never be high enough level to unlock those skills, so we'll be abusing the jump attack animation, which you'll see coming up. It's very, very good against the next boss, especially its phase transition.
Yep, here we are. This is Emerald Falls, as one of my favorite music themes in the game, alongside another area we'll approach later on. But beforehand, before the boss, which is basically right here, we're going to quickly talent points menu again. We're also going to equip the new weapon and quick slot some potions we've collected along the way. And here's the boss.
So this is Loth. Very scripted fight. As you can see, we are doing the jump attacks, and the boss health is just melting. As you can see, this is the phase 2 transition, where he dashes across and then dashes in the middle. And we use the katana deflect ability. Well, every weapon can deflect, but the katana deflects those projectiles really well, and deflecting the projectiles actually does damage back to the boss as well. So, yeah. Obviously, you can see here, we've just picked up another movement ability. Not only double jump, but also a down kick.
Yep, here we go. Sicko mode unlocked. This is Shin Renee. For any Street Fighter fans out there, you'll get the reference. But yeah, we're gonna be making a big drop down here.
Now we're zooming.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna be making a big drop down here. This is towards the next area. It's like a watery area. It's called the columns. Ooh, okay, that's a really bad hit. I'm gonna go ahead and safety heal. But the columns is not gonna be we're not gonna spend a very long time here. It's just like temporarily going to get us to the next set of areas, which will allow us to get another progression ability, which it's kind of hard to describe what it does for us, but we'll talk more about it when we get closer. So now we've unveiled the name of the area. We're going to grab that do. And Robbo, would you like to introduce the next area we're going to be in?
Well, the next area is Ashen Canyon, but we aren't going to be there for very long. The next main area is Town of the Exiled, and it holds the next boss for us, which will give us a new progression ability. It will allow us to traverse the overworld. But before we get there, it's worth mentioning that because we're traveling so fast, we can actually travel through some enemies because their hitbox hasn't even spawned by the time we get to them. So you'll see that with a few enemies. It seems like some enemies are a lot more susceptible to this than others. And we do have to be very careful because these enemies will be... Some of them will be one-shotting us, most of them will be two-shotting us. So we just take the safety confluence there, and we're going to ride the lift up to Aus, the next boss.
Aus. This boss is a major choke point, or used to be. It still kind of is, but we have some new ideas for it now that make it less scary. But she's the most RNG boss in this run. The time save can vary depending on what attack patterns you get, but ideally, if you crouch cancel her as quickly as possible, then you can avoid most of the nonsense. Unfortunately, she still summoned the familiar, so we have to kind of dodge it, which loses time. But the idea is you want to crouch cancel her out of these different statuses that she goes through. And then this is now phase 2, where she does some enhanced versions of her previous attacks. And hopefully she doesn't give us a good bad pattern. Oh my goodness.
Very nice.
Wow.
Perfect.
But
Nice.
This is the best pattern that you can get. So that worked out really well for us. So we're done with that.
Yeah, she's... Yeah, go on, sorry.
Yeah, we're done with that. We collected one of her drops, which was the clammy whistle. And the clammy whistle is going to allow us to travel the overworld we're coming up on. Robbo, anything you'd like to mention about this overworld?
It looks awesome. We get to ride a cool new friend. You'll see it when we get there. But guarding it is another wolf enemy. It is a unique enemy design. It's not the same as the previous one. However, we are still going to be using the crouch attacks, the crouch cancel attacks, and do some projectile deflecting. And that boss is done.
Nice.
Just like that. The boss did drop a Divine Seed, which we need to equip an Afterimage, which is essentially this game's version of Hollow Knight Charms. It's like a passive buff. And there is a particular one that we'll use later on. We'll explain that when we get there. But yeah, here's the overworld.
Yep, this overworld is really cute. Reminds me of like Scratch, if you guys have used that before. But anyway, we're going to make a stop at this island. It's known as Teardrop. And we need to activate a latch that allows us to open a gate to reach the rest of this water overworld. But while we're here, since it's the most calm part of the run so far, you guys are probably wondering, what is the essential? it's kind of mysterious. It's not called any percent. The Essential is the name of the ending we're trying to achieve with this run. This game has a total of 10 different endings, one of which is like a gag ending, and the others are all story related. And the ending we're aiming for, known as the Essential, it's basically the good ending for the main character, Renee. If you go for any percent, which is kind of like the marquee category for this game, you'd go for the bad ending, which is called the Homecoming, since that ending is the fastest. The Essential is just a couple more steps in addition to what we would do for the Homecoming ending. So it's pretty fun for marathons because we like good endings here, don't we?
Yes.
But yeah, we're gonna make a detour to grab. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Go for it.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just agreeing that we like good endings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been a huge fan of good endings in Castlevania games, so it's perfect to do it for the marathon as well. Here we're grabbing an armor upgrade in a very scary detour area. The reason why it's scary is because these enemies all one-shot me, and that's exactly what happened. Sometimes that vulture doesn't fly towards you right away, and if it stays in that spot, it's going to attack you as it did. And the attacks it does cannot be deflected, so it's a little rough, but no worries about it. We just go back to it. But yeah, this is an armor that is very important for the rest of the run, which is why we're making the detour here to go ahead and grab it. There. It flew toward us this time, so much better. Let's go ahead and equip it right now, and we'll make our way out of here. So, Robbo...
Of course, it gives you the perfect RNG on the second attempt.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vulture. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Not everything goes according to plan, but all is well. Yeah, so Robbo, why is it so important that we grabbed this armor upgrade known as Exotic Geta?
Well, there's a few areas later in the game that are absolute nightmares to traverse. Obviously, with our current moveset, we can avoid most enemies. In fact, we can avoid every enemy as long as we play correctly. There is an area later on which is an absolute nightmare. There's projectiles everywhere, horrendous enemies. Some actually quite difficult, like gauntlet fights and boss fights. We do need the armor to survive in the Essential. Any percent, you don't have any of that. It's all just beeline straight to the final boss. The Essential is definitely a jump up in difficulty.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the nature of this. This is a very huge game. We failed to mention it, but this is probably the largest Metroidvania ever made. Just by sheer map size, by the amount of content. It'll take any average player to probably like 60 hours to 100% the game, at least. And that's probably with guides, I would say.
Wow.
So, no small game by any means.
No, it's massive.
We did a lot here. It's hard to explain, but I'm sure you guys will appreciate the fact that we have the double jump, because that allowed us to elegantly bounce off of these enemies that are in Holy Grounds, which is the area we're currently in. And here we're going to make one of the hardest traverses in the run so far, to unlock some shortcuts that will be useful later on when we come back to Holy Grounds. So I'm going to focus up for this.
So this is quite a long and very dangerous section. We are not meant to be here yet. Getting access to the overworld does give us access to a bunch of late game areas. We are still level 9, and these enemies are somewhere around level 50 or 60. They will absolutely one-shot us. However, of course, Kurushi's going to dash through that guy without a care in the world, like an absolute pro. We are here to essentially... There's some traversal here that we need to do later on anyway. There's also some items that we need to pick up anyway, and some levels that we can get by interacting with these echoes. There is also a scythe that we just picked up, which is going to be our main weapon for the rest of the run, the Iron Scythe. It is a late game weapon that we're picking up around, what is this, like 10-15 minutes into the run, so that's hilarious. And the next few like story bosses will absolutely melt. It's great. We've also upgraded it a couple times, but this section up here, we're doing this essentially because we need to gain access to the top of this area later on anyway, so we'll be opening up a couple of shortcuts. To the right is a boss that we'll see a little bit later on as well. And now that we've done that perfectly, we're going to TP out and then go kind of back onto the standard progression route.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, the primary reason why we come here early is for that weapon, because it just makes the rest of the run, at least the next like couple areas, makes it a lot smoother. However, we're not out of the woods yet, literally. We're coming up on yet another forest, Whispering Forest. This area is very gloomy and mysterious. It's got a lot of dangerous enemies. However, upcoming is one of my favorite parts of the run. It's a sequence break, which I myself found. It's been employed for this category for a number of months now. Robbo will probably explain more of it as we come upon it. But for now, we're going to be platforming up these vines and trees, and hopefully we make our way up there unscathed.
Yep, so we're just continuing through this area. I don't think these enemies will one-shot right now because we have the armor, but they're still incredibly dangerous. This is Whispering Forest. We're going to skip some cutscenes there. We're going to hit this confluence down here as well after we do this really cool long jump to get across.
Nice.
That's definitely not intended. So we're hitting this confluence for a few reasons. One, just in case this sequence break doesn't work all that quickly. Also, we're going to teleport to it later on anyway. The sequence break itself, this avoids a lot of this section, and it's really nasty. And he got it for second try. That was great.
Oh.
So he got a kind of a corner boost, right? It's like you double jump off the corner to get a nice boost and sequence break the area. Good job.
Yeah, second try in a marathon is absolutely massive. That's like, honestly, like if I'm just thinking about my personal best time, this would be a good pace kind of run to get it second try, because each time you miss it in advanced difficulty, it's about 6 to 8 seconds of time loss. So getting it second try is pretty good. But here's the next boss. It'll end quickly.
Yes, it will, yeah. So we're already through phase 1. You blink and you miss it. We parried some projectiles, and he's already in second phase. We avoid the zoomy attacks, and then we crouch attack to finish him off.
Wow.
And then we get our second last movement ability in the game, I guess technically. So now we can wall climb. Will be very useful for some of the upcoming sections. We realize that wall climb isn't actually necessary to beat the game. However, for the essential ending, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Especially for the tower coming up. So, but first of all, we're going to quickly detour to get our second bit of armor, the exotic mask. There'll be 2 out of the 3 pieces of armor that we'll get during the run, just to help out with the end of the game shenanigans. And that's this section done. We'll be moving on to Forest Foregone.
Yep, that's right. So Forest Foregone, another scary area. The trifecta of areas we're upon right now, Whispering Forest, Forest Foregone, Silent Coast, they're pretty famous in 90% for being the hardest areas to learn in that category. In this category, they're still pretty difficult, but not as much due to the armor we've acquired so far. So it's pretty nice to have the armor. Makes us feel a bit safer. But this boss is representing...
That's new.
Okay.
Yeah.
That has never happened before.
Yes, the thing.
But yeah, this boss represents a character we've seen before in the beginning of the game. She's basically just saying, stay out of this if you don't know what's happening. But she also has a devil form trapped inside of her, and that's what she transforms into right now. We have to basically fight her transformation form. But first, talent points, you guys know. And we'll fight her up.
Yep, so this is the Unstoppable Devil. She has a combination of projectile attacks and explosion attacks, and this is the attack we never want to see because it takes ages. The Crystal Rain attack. It's also quite hard to dodge at times. So she is in second phase right now, but for the most part her attacks will be explosions and projectiles, and Kurushi manned up and killed the boss before it exploded with the lightning. So good job to save a couple of seconds with the Chad move.
Nice.
And that is the devil fight.
Yeah, decent fight overall. Yeah, Ice Rain wastes like 8 seconds. It's annoying, but at the end of the day, you know, it's somewhat out of our control. We're not sure how to make her not do it. The strategy is kill her fast, but that doesn't always work out, of course. So But on we go. We're still in Forest Forgotten, even though it looks a little different right now. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to make a detour towards the north, and we're going to grab a confluence that we'll come back to later because we need to actually come back to Forest Forgotten to pick up another progression ability, which we'll talk more about when we get there. But for the time being, enjoy the fact that we've unveiled the name of this area finally, even though we're almost out of it. And next up is Silent Coast, which is a pretty hard area as well. And it has one of our favorite parts of the run. Not, we say favorite, but it's funny. It'll make more sense when we get to it.
Yeah, it's the #1 run killer.
Yeah.
The main run killer isn't all these enemies that one-shot you, it's a particular Silent Coast section.
Yes.
Although, hopefully, it works out okay for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, not so bad so far. We're gonna actually wall climb up here to grab, in my opinion, the best accessory in the game, or second best. It's called Twins Right Ring, and it just improves your main weapon attack. It has a downside that we literally don't care about, so I'm not even going to talk about it. So this is the other part of Silent Coast. This part is the tricky part. So I'm going to try my best to get it first try.
Yeah, these flying rabbits are quite annoying, as well as these clams. They're a lot faster than... Like, these clams accelerate way faster than you expect them to, and they do a lot of damage as well. But we're up.
Nice.
We're going to pick up some potions for later as well. And this is the next boss, Runic Guardian, which is probably the easiest boss in the run. I don't want to jinx you, but...
No, I'm in agreement
this guy
with that.
dies so fast.
Yeah.
He has about 2 attacks, and then he just
dies.
That was Guardian.
Perfect.
So we got to speak to this broom. He give us the golden card, and then we got to use the golden card at the boat dock for this guy known as Ian to help take us across the misty waters and meet our mentor, who's been stationed at Field of Hydro, which is across the waters. She's been waiting for us to tell us more about ourselves, pretty much. But first, let's see if Ian is even there. Ian, are you there?
Did he turn up for work today?
Oh,
He did.
He did. Okay.
Oh, nice.
That's so in an RTA run, this would be like what would set the run for like a really good pace if Ian shows up the first time he's supposed to.
Oh, nice.
If Ian decides to take the day off, then we have to quit out to main menu, reload the save file, and retraverse from wherever save point that we last were at.
Ooh.
Which in the case of this run would be Silent Coast. All in all, that would lose about 1.5 minutes, potentially more, depending on if you die or not. But yeah, he showed up the first time. We got the Marathon Fortune with us, so.
Woo. Well, thank you for not using PTO, Ian.
Yeah, I know. Well, we have to hope that Ian doesn't have PTO stocked up for future runs, but for now we don't have to worry about it. So we're now in Field of Hydro. This is my favorite music theme in the game. Yeah, so after that boat ride, we're rewarded with an area with no enemies whatsoever.
Nice.
It's just a nice, chill platforming section, which looks and feels really nice to traverse, actually. Zooming along.
Yeah, you get to show off some cool movement in this section. So there's our mentor.
Eros.
She talks a lot, so we just skip through all of it. But she gives us some important stuff for the essential category, namely being a memory shard and a magic letter to Owl, along with a piece of equipment that will help us out a lot. It's an accessory known as Eros' Pearl Rosary. It's going to improve our HP and healing efficiency. Healing efficiency just improves how much healing you get from things like glyphs, which are heals that we pop with an action. Like I haven't pointed out yet, but it's something that we can refill at save points. And then it also improves our potion efficiency as well. But here we're making a stop back at Resting Town, and there's a good reason for it. We need to actually reinforce ourselves a little bit more before we get to late game sections in this run. We're not powerful enough. Well, we are powerful enough, but we like to have some more power. Need more power. You guys understand, right? Like, Who doesn't want more power?
More.
So yeah, we grab these enhancement materials that are located conveniently in the hub town of the game, and we're going to use those to improve our existing weaponry, as well as add some additional talent points to our talent tree. One of these talent points we're actually using right now is going to be an important ability that we'll need for some future boss fights. It's called Iron Bastion, and Robbo will talk more about it, I'm sure, when we get there. But for the time being, we're going to go back to Silent Coast, and we're going to make a detour for a Divine Seed. And Robbo mentioned this earlier. Divine Seeds are like charms in Hollow Knight. In the case of this Divine Seed, this is probably the most powerful Divine Seed in the game, or one of them. It's so strong that it's like 100% worth getting in this category.
Yeah, I'll let you concentrate on this section because it's a bit of a nightmare. We have to deal with these mosquitoes and flying rabbits, and we can barely see. And they do a lot of damage to us. Yeah, so we're getting Geo Carapace. This gives us incredible defense when enemies hit us from behind. But what also happens when they hit you, you kind of generate a little earthquake effect as well. And depending on if we get lucky or not, we may see that completely melt one of the late game bosses. I know that you've had this happen quite frequently, Kurushi. It's always nice when it happens. It completely destroys the boss. It seems a little bit random, but it also seems to be spacing based or spacing determined. I don't think we know fully yet, but we'll see if we can make some use out of that later. And right now we're moving back up Holy Grounds to speak to this NPC Owl to move his quest line forward for the essential ending.
Yeah, Owl's one of the most important NPCs in this category. I say, and we're skipping his dialogue, but trust me. This is called Grand Archives, this location of Holy Grounds, and Owl resides here. He's going to teach us a spell. It's the Soul Resonance Barrier Ritual, in order for us to recover our memories. However, it gets interrupted by some bad actors that, unfortunately, one of them is a person we've encountered before. We actually fought her early in the game. It was triple question marks. And we're going to see her again pretty soon. But for now, on to the next boss. In my opinion, the best boss in this game, this whole game. This is Vala the First Night, and I'll let Robbo talk about her.
Okay, yeah, so this is my favorite boss as well. Probably my best, like my favorite OST as well. She is obviously a knight. She has a bunch of slash attacks, light beam attacks, and almost every single attack that she has we can punish. There's a few that we can't, which we don't like to see. But for the most part, Kurushi is avoiding them expertly and getting the punishes in. While we're hitting her, she builds up a kind of meter or charge that enhances her next attack. So when she does a little flash, her next attack is the enhanced version of that particular attack. And she is dead, right? Surprise.
Oh no.
Second phase. So now, all of her attacks are enhanced, and she has incredible defense, so we're hardly doing any damage to her, but her health is slowly decreasing. So it's kind of like an endurance fight, or like a survival fight. But of course we're getting damage in when we can anyway. So we're using a combination of the crouch attacks, the side spin skill, which is called Rondo, and we're using our double jumps and down kicks to avoid these attacks. But yeah, this OST is beautiful.
Yep, agreed. We're almost finished with this fight. What's interesting is that second phase actually ends before her health bar goes away. Oops. Not yet, but should be ended right here. One thing about the end of this fight is that you still gotta dodge her last attack. It's such a knowledge check, but if you get hit by this, it typically one-shots, so...
And then you gotta do it all again.
Yeah. So yeah, the first time we all fight this boss, it's a funny time. But that's Valo cleared. That's the best boss in this game down, so we're not done yet, though. We grabbed the sword that she dropped. This sword is called Scorching Judgment. It's a pretty nice greatsword. Greatsword is a weapon class that's a little bit underwhelming overall, but it has one weapon skill that I hinted at a bit earlier. that's called Iron Bastion. It's a parry. And if you guys have played any action game, I'm sure you guys love parries. We're going to be using that parry to our advantage in some of these late game boss fights. But for now, we shall descend into the Sunken Sanctum, which lies below Holy Grounds. Sunken Sanctum contains an area called God's Hall, and this is where the majority of Renee's story events take place, including the Essential. At God's Hall, there's a relic called the Cradle, in which we have to place memory shards, which are basically MacGuffins. They're quest items we have to collect for the Essential category specifically, and there are 3 of them in total. One of them we already have. It was given us by Eros, which is our mentor. The other 2 we have to find. They're scattered kind of arbitrarily in the land of Ingarden, and we have to make an effort to find them. One of the areas we're going to do in this category is specifically for getting that memory shard, and it's quite a horrendous area, so you have to pray for me on that one, guys. But what we just gathered was our last equipment upgrade of the run. It's called Moonshadow Robe, and it produces the greatest improvement to our health pool, our armor, and our main weapon attack, so it's very nice to have on us. And then to the right over here, we're going to be entering a small section that doesn't have any enemies. Well, Sunken Sanctum doesn't have any enemies in general, but this section specifically just has collectibles. And one of these collectibles is the key to God's Hall. So we need to grab that, as well as a resting potion that's on the ground, before we make our way out of here. And then after that, we're going to unlock the key, or we're going to unlock the door to God's Hall using the key. And then we'll be making a safety save at the confluence that's located in God's Hall before we'll have to come back here later, because we're actually not ready to finish the events of this category yet. We still need to go back and get the other 2 memory shards. I know I said a mouthful there, but...
Essentially, in any percent, this would be where the run would essentially end. We just go down here and beat the final boss, and that'll be the run. But in the Essential, we've got a few more things to do.
Yep. We're gonna still grab another glyph. Again, the primeval glyphs are just for having additional heals to like that complement our potions. We already have plenty of potions, but it never hurts to have a heal that we can always recover at a save point. So yeah, this is the door. We open it, and we've got the most, I guess, dramatic and anticipation-oriented elevator in the game. So yeah, the ride down is brief, but we're not quite ready to finish off this run yet. So we're gonna make a safety save here, more or less. It's not really safety. We do have to tap it because we want to come back here, and the only way to teleport back to that confluence is by tapping it first. So we make our way back to Forest Forgone. I thought it was Forgone. Why are we back here? Well. Right. We got a progression ability to find. And this progression ability is for literally just one thing, which is a memory shard. So it's a bit of a shame that we have to get this, but sadly, in the restricted category, we don't currently know of a way to skip getting this progression ability. So it does cost quite a bit of time for something very small, but alas.
It does mean we get to fight another boss.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Although this boss is going to be made quick work of. This is Xeno Watcher. We beat him up pretty quickly, so there's not really much to talk about him. But ideally, we'll have to make use of Geo Carapace, which Robbo talked about earlier. It's going to allow us to face tank this boss a little bit and keep our DPS up. Otherwise, these attacks do waste quite a bit of time if you try to dodge them legitimately. Although, sometimes it's good to dodge just to be safe, because it's a little hard to tell what attack he'll do on occasion. But in this case, the fight was clean. And we grabbed the progression ability. This is called, I don't know what it's actually called, but we call it Ground Break or Ground Smash. You can only use it for breakable ground, so it's basically a key. And it so happens that one of the memory shards is located beneath a breakable ground. But we also needed the swim ability before getting over here, because this memory shard is underneath the water, under the breakable ground. And it was kind of hard to point it out when we got it, but the swim ability we acquired when we spoke to a Goliath in Field of Hydro, who was just below our mentor. That Goliath is known as Samsara, and she gave us the swim ability, which is a progression ability, as well as a primeval glyph. The swim ability is not innate to Renee. It's similar to like Symphony of the Night, where Alucard can't swim in the water initially until you grab the holy symbol. So in the case of Renee, it's not poison damage, but it's basically like you literally cannot go in the water. You take damage and you're forced to be transported out of the water. But while I was talking, here we are. We've approached the most dangerous area of the run. This is Albedo Tower. Robbo, anything you like to say about the infamous Albedo Tower?
So Albedo Tower is very much a late game area. It has probably some of the hardest platforming and combat encounters, certainly in the Essential, but also just in the game itself. It's a really long section. We've got to go all the way to the top just for a memory shard, just for a single item. But we've got to go through all this section. We have elemental birds, we have kind of automatons, we have bouncing boulders, which seem to have a mind of their own. And yeah, this section is huge. I can't believe you've sort of memorized the layout of this thing, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it does like remind me of Castlevania Symphony of the Night's Outer Wall area, where there's like just a lot of pathways that you can take, and yeah, you just really got to have the route written on like the back of your hand or something. We actually took quite of a shortcut of a route, but we'll leave that one as a mystery for now. We're actually going to activate this mechanism because it'll allow us to grab a weapon upgrade, which, as it turns out, the weapon we've been using this whole run is actually not sufficient for the last part of the run that we'll have to do. The final bosses in this game are one of the bosses we've seen before, as well as a person that resembles a lot like us in her appearance. These bosses are known as Guider the Shadow Moon and Renee. I know, it's crazy. We have to fight ourselves, right? But indeed, this boss, Renee, does not mess around. So we need a weapon that suits fighting her a bit more than Iron Scythe. This weapon is called Sen-no-Sen. It's a blade with a very cool ability that allows us to deal more damage to enemies that are in their attack animation. So turns out that's very helpful against her because Renee is quite often in an attack animation or some animation of some kind. Whether that's moving around, whether that's dealing crazy amounts of damage in singular hits. But when we get there, you guys will see. But we just need to activate one more mechanism in order to allow us to progress through the top of Albedo Tower. And now we can reveal the name. So yeah.
There it is.
Go ahead.
There it is, Albedo Tower. Now we know what it's called.
Yeah, we've gone through this section pretty slowly. This section, just like Field of Geo from very early on in the run, is very cycle-based. In a marathon context, it's a little risky to go for the best cycles, so we're just going to take it nice and easy. There's a reason why we need all the armor. It's for this area and for the final bosses. These enemies will easily one-shot us without the armor we have right now. Also without the Geo Carapace Divine Seed, so... Here's a gauntlet. This gauntlet's pretty difficult, so I'm going to focus up for this one. But it's one of the last major roadblocks in the run.
So this gauntlet has waves of quite difficult enemies. Ideally, we want to try and get them grouped up so that our crouch attacks with the sides, hits both at the same time. This particular wave is quite nasty. 2 elemental birds. The ice one creates sort of ice zones, and the fire one shoots like fireballs. This one's quite easy because the wind birds end up flying to the same position. We just take them out at the same time. And then these waves are kind of a combination of all the different enemies. And this one should be the last one, I believe. You can see, as long as we can get hits in with the scythe, they melt quite quickly. And nice. that is dangerous and it is difficult, but Kurushi did that really well. Good job.
Very nice.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So yeah, this is the last part of Albedo Tower. It's pretty dangerous. There's a lot of lasers. So we're going to try our best to get through it comfortably. Ooh.
Yes, we are not done after the gauntlet. We got to get through this hideous monstrosity.
Okay, I was almost dead there. I think I survived because I got hit from behind thanks to Geocarapace. So big ups to that ability saving me there. But we're still not out of the woods yet. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's all about waiting for that one bird to get in the right position to then bounce off of and get up to the platform above. It's a little bit RNG.
Yeah, the bird didn't cooperate there, so I had to kind of wait. But we're all done. We got the memory shard, which was in the water there. And now we can go back to Sunken Sanctum, go back to God's Hall. And here is where we will complete the last set of story events for this category, the Essential. But first, bosses.
So here we have the last two bosses in the run. We have the Guider, and then we have Renee. Guider is, like Kurushi said, the boss that we fought right at the start of the game, but she is way more enhanced, and she has a special extra phase as well, where she's very, very dangerous. And the strat Kurushi will be using is essentially the crouch attack still with the scythe. There's no reason to change, really. In the second phase, she will have some very dangerous attacks, which we may need to parry with the Great Sword.
That's right.
So you'll see that coming up.
Yeah, this Great Sword again.
She is, second phase.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go for it.
Yep, so this is just the second phase here. Let's see what we can do.
Yep. The Great Sword is good. Oh, we're gonna see it here. Okay. Not bad. It's a parry that we're employing there. It allows us to reduce the damage and get a decent amount of damage in return, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to attack her during that attack. However, it's not always reliable to get the max damage from it, and we mentioned trying to go for the damage nuke from that parry, and it's pretty tricky. Unfortunately, we didn't get it in that fight, but all in all, not too bad. So now here comes the final boss of this category. This is Renee. Time will be coming up when her health bar goes away, so it'll be blink and you miss it, I can assure you. But I'll say it right now. I'm going to focus up for this. It's pretty hard, so I'll let Robbo take it away from here.
Yeah, this is a really long and difficult fight. She has a lot of katana skill-based attacks. She also has a lot of health. She will two-shot, I believe, with Kurushi's setup. And she also lifesteals, which is great. Kurushi is employing the katana jump attack along with a crouch attack. As part of the kind of attack chain. And that's pretty damn good damage. It's a lot more damage than the side would be. And she's in second phase right now. In the second phase, she has a screen-wide one-shot attack, which Kurushi will be trying to parry. It's difficult to time, but there is an audio cue. I'm going to stop talking so that Kurushi can hear the audio.
Got it. Nice.
And there it is, beautiful. But yeah, that's a one-shot, if you don't parry that.
Yep.
Wow.
We're still good on this fight. Unfortunate damage there, but we can keep our health in check now. Again, time will be coming up when the health bar goes away. Ooh. There it is. That's time.
Nice.
Wow.
Wow, you zoomed.
Yeah.
You dashed, you zoomed, you triple jumped your way to such a quick run. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think aside from, I had one death getting the first armor, but otherwise this was a really good run. Typically, when Ian doesn't show up at the boat dock right away, then that's where things get really bad. But it's time-wise. But I'll allow you guys to enjoy the cutscene quickly before I speak on. Yeah, so there we are, the Essential. Typically there's a lot that can go wrong in this run, and there's a reason why we give a pretty generous estimate for it typically. For example, like an albedo tower, if I had died where I was saved by my Geo Carapace Divine Seed, then that would have lost like 2 minutes probably, because I would have been sent back to a much earlier confluence that I had picked up earlier. Similarly, for the boat dock, what I mentioned earlier, that could have lost over a minute easily, but we got it first try as well. So yeah, pretty good run overall. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. And again, it's been a great honor of mine to have been a part of GDQ HotFix Juneteenth Celebration. This is my first time on any GDQ event. And actually, I'll be at SGDQ in a week running this exact same game and categories. So if you guys are able to make that run, I hope you guys will be able to see that. It's going to be the same run again. And I'm greatly looking forward to it. Robbo, thank you very much for helping with the commentary today. Anything you would like to say before I close things off?
Yeah, just thank you very much for having us. I've been watching GDQ for years, and it's finally it's nice to finally be a part of the community for real. So thank you very much for having us. And it's nice to see Afterimage get the platform it deserves, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys haven't tried this game out, please do give it a shot. It's become very quickly my favorite Metroidvania. And trust me, I'm a huge fanatic of the Metroidvania Castlevania games as well. But yeah, this game is excellent. It's wonderful. If you're interested in the speedrun as well, we do have a speedrun community, both on Discord and on speedrun.com. You can find the leaderboards on speedrun.com/afterimage, spelled the way that you see on the screen. And as far as if you're interested in checking out anything that I do, most of the things I do are on YouTube actually, and not Twitch. Of course, feel free to follow my Twitch still on twitch.tv/kurushiidrive. Usually if I'm streaming on Twitch, it's for like a Symphony of the Night randomizer race. And then for YouTube is where I do pretty much everything else, including live streaming and game playthroughs, as well as fighting games occasionally. If you're interested in that, that is youtube.com/kurushiidrive, which is one word. And yeah, with that, thank you all very much for having me. Good luck to the rest of the runners that are still participating in the rest of the marathon. And yeah, hope to see you all in a week at SGDQ.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you again, Kurushi, for such an amazing run. And make sure to catch Kurushi's run next week during SGDQ. SGDQ starts next Sunday, a week from today. So if you have any questions about the schedule, go to gamesdonequick.com to get all the information. And GDQ is also going to be at PAX West, so use !PAX in Twitch chat for more information. All right, so that was just very fast. So we're going to take a break. Make sure you hydrate, stretch, get a snack, and we'll be right back with you.